Hello everyone. So today we are going to read a very important chapter of class 11th from the book The Hornbill, and the name of the chapter is The Silk Road. Okay, so what basically is the Silk Road? The introduction of the Silk Road is required. It was a trade route that went from China to Eastern Europe. It went along the northern borders of China, India, and Persia and ended up in Eastern Europe near today's Turkey and the Mediterranean Sea. You can see it on the map here. You see the Silk Road. It was a network of trade routes which connected the east and west. You can see here it connected the east and west and was center to the economic, cultural, political, and religious interaction between these regions from the 2nd century BCE. You see, from the 2nd century BCE to the 18th century, and it stretched more than 7,000 kilometers, connecting most lands of Asia and Europe. It was the longest ancient overland trade route. Now, this was also known as Silk Route, okay, and it linked China with the west and east. I told you earlier in the map that carried goods and ideas between the two great civilization of Rome and China. So China was basically the producer of silk at that time. So silk went to westwards and wools, gold and silver went east. Along with that, China also received Christianity and Buddhism via the Silk Road. Now we are coming to our chapter. What basically is the main motive of this chapter? The writer Nick Middleton. And whenever in our lifetime also, whichever the religion we belong to, we go for pilgrimage. So that is up to our beliefs. So here we are talking about the beliefs of Buddhist, what they exactly think. There is a particular word known as Kora. So, what is Kora? Kora is the meditation performed by a Buddhist believer. Okay, and when they talk about Kora, so Mount Kailash is the most pious and religious place of Buddhist as well as Hindus. So here the narrator Nick Middleton has decided to go for Kora, and he's living with the family. So when he is starting his journey, so the family, the girl is there, the name is Lamo. She bid him farewell and gave him a long sleeve sheepskin coat. Also, he hired Sitan. Sitan is the driver who is going along with him for his journey, and along with him there is one more person, Daniel. He is not going for Kora. He is going just only he had to reach Darchin, so he is accompanying him. That's it. So you can see here in the picture Mount Kailash. Mount Kailash. What exactly is the Mount Kailash significance? The circuit or Kora of Mount Kailash is 6714 meter. It's one of the most important pilgrimage in Asia. It's been a religious century since pre-Buddhist times, and a trek here wonderfully integrates the spiritual, cultural, and physical dimension of a trip to Tibet. So when we are starting our journey, when the author starts his journey, so as the protagonist was heading toward Mount Kailash to complete the Kora in the morning, when I am talking about prose and poetry, so just like the pattern of the exam is changed, so you will be asked question from the prose also, and that also the literary devices and figures of speech are equally going to be there. So here you have to imagine picture, you have to use this poetic device, that is imagery. Imagine the beauty of the early morning when he's starting his journey. Similarly, he has explained here, he witnessed a beautiful half moon in the blue sky. The clouds looked like French bread, which glowed pink because of the sun, which spread a slash of rays on the mountain tops. You also just close your eyes and imagine that you are witnessing this thing, how the sun rays are spreading, and the mountain tops are shining. There's a glint there. So it looked like a rose tinted blush. And Lamu, she wanted to give him a farewell gift, as I told you. So that was a sheep skin long sleeved coat, which is meant for them. And he just took it and climbed into his car. They also took a shortcut to cut off the Changtang, and his driver knew the short route which took them to the southwest towards Mount Kailash, and they had to pass high mountain passes. Sitan told him that they can reach the destination only if there is no snow, and they can't know that they until they will reach there. So it is just only a random guess that whether the snow is going to be there or not. Now, the route was filled with open plains in Ravo, where gazelles were eating grass from the land which had little rain and disapproved while hoping back in the void. What happens, when you are also going somewhere and, some animals, they don't like the strangers in their territory. So, this is the, behavior of those animals when they see humans there. So similar is the expression of the gazelles and wild asses, which you will see they are known as kyang. So as they moved forward, a large group of wild asses appeared. So Sitan told him that they were approaching the wild asses long before they appeared there, and he pointed out a huge pile of dust which he called kyang in the local language. So those rankies, basically they live in a mountainous area, and they are used for the transport, and this is basically kyang, which you can see in the picture. These are the gazelles. They are the graceful antelopes, and they resemble deer and are in the same family as goats, cattle, and sheep. And but whenever they see humans along with that, you must have seen on the Discovery also that how they react when they see any car, any bus, anything. They can't tolerate the people in their territory. Similar is kyang. I told you the wild ass of Tibet is known as kyang. It is over 4 feet high at the shoulder, of a dark reddish color with a narrow stripe along the back. So if you'll go to Vaishno Devi or Amarnath somewhere, you know that we hire these kyangs basically, because they can comfortably move in that area. So that is the basic attraction of Tibet which we are talking about. This is a particular word kyang here. The next one, the route was filled with open plains, and the gazelles were eating grass from the land which had little rain, and they could not find it comfortable, and they started running. It was just like the military exercises, and because of that, a pile of dust was formed, and they are just it is in their local language. It is called kyang. Moving toward, as they moved past the rocky area, they came across private koras. Now, what exactly we are talking about? There are some people, those who are doing meditation. They live in those particular area, both men and women. And that is a look when they are giving to the stranger here. They looked at their car, and some also waved at them. As they moved closer to the animals, the ship would take a slippery path and would suddenly move into another direction away from the car. This happens with us also. If we are going to any of the mountainous region, and these animals, I think you all must have seen on the way. So there were different nomads tents. Kya hota hai? That exactly basically the people, those who are living in those snowy area, and they are not having their permanent houses. In peaks winter, they come down in the plains, so that's why they live in tents. Okay, but they are having, first of all, they are not in complete isolation. They are having a big black Tibetan dog standing as their guard. Okay, and those bushy creatures are blacker than the normal black color, and they are not wearing the bright red color collar which you are having for your dogs. They bark angrily at you. Similarly, they can't bear any of the stranger in their territory, so they'll keep on chasing you. Okay, and unless you are going out of their territory. You can see here Tibetan mastiff, those bushy creatures, they are blacker. You see that they are not like our normal dogs. And what exactly is the speciality of these dogs? They are basically these dogs keep on running, and they keep on chasing 100 meters till they let you go out of their territory. And these Tibetan mastiff became popular in China's royal courts as hunting dogs, and they were brought along the Silk Road as tribute in ancient times from Tibet. When they were driving, I told you, now as you will keep on moving towards the high altitude, you will find different obstacles on the way. This is not a new thing for, but when we are talking about Leh Ladakh, when we are talking about Kailash mountain, obviously as we'll keep on moving up, our oxygen level will get decreased. The same thing is happening here. The driver was driving in third gear while the turns were sharper and the ride got bumpier. And then they moved away from the road which ran along the icy river. It had sharp slopes and big rocks coated with thick, sticky orange legend. You must have seen that vegetation in the mountains. So below the rocks were chunks of snow. This is again imagery. You have to picturize that thing in your mind. It's a mind map that when they are driving, what obstacles they are facing on the way. And there is a pressure of, I told you, as you will keep on moving towards high altitude, the same thing the protagonist is feeling. He felt a pressure on his ears. He held his nose and snorted in order to clear them. Then a sharp turn came again, and Sitan stopped the car and jumped out from his seat. Okay, he exclaimed, "Snow!" I mean, now they were having a vast swath of snow in front of them, which was about 15 meters. And before it diminished, the normal dirty track appeared again. It's very difficult for a driver to drive on these roads. Okay, you should have the mastery in driving on that. Even Sitan is a good driver, but he was also facing difficulty because on the both sides of the road there was snow, and it was difficult to move the vehicle in that condition. So both of them came out of the car, Daniel and Sitan, and even the protagonist also, and they were just, when he looked at his watch, they were 5210 meters above sea level. Now you can imagine a normal man also is going to find out the difficulty, so he is also facing the same condition. These are the obstacles I told you. They said that if they will turn their car over, they could slip off. So what they did, Sitan grabbed dirt and threw it across the frozen surface. Basically, we can use salt also. When we are moving, we should have salt with you, because the frozen surface, if you throw it, if you will just grab, if you put some dirt here, then also you can move. So they pisted and helped Sitan until the snow and soil appeared, and it loaded the tension of Sitan. He drove back the car and slowly drove to the more comfortable side of the road. So this is the master skill of the driver, that how he is driving in this region. Okay. After 10 minutes, Sitan stopped again as another obstacle come in front of them. What was now? They drove around a snowy track which was steep and filled with rocks. He further drove from the hairpin bend that we always face if we are going to different. Everybody has gone to hilly area, and you know about the hairpin bends. So he is also facing that, moving to the higher side where the snow was still there. And again he checked his watch again. Now they were climbing the mountain in the bright sunlight. They move up to 5400 meters height, and his heart began to pulsate again. He had a few sips of water from his bottle, which helped him to climb the slope. Now here you can see this exactly is a religious belief, okay, of the Buddhist. What is there? When they reached at 5515 meters, a large pile of stone was decorated with white silk scarves and some dirty prayer flags. These prayer flags, I think you all have seen. Okay, so what is the belief of the Buddhists? They took a turn around that stone in a clockwise direction, as in the tradition, and when they were doing it, the driver checked the tires of his vehicle. And after that, they stopped at the petrol tank and unscrewed his top, which made a loud hiss noise as the pressure was making the fuel expand. Now you know how much dangerous it was. So driver just told him that it is dangerous for you also, but don't do any smoking here, otherwise anything could happen. Now we are talking about Mansarovar. I think you must have heard about Mansarovar. That is the place of religious belief for Hindus as well as for Buddhists. So when they reached Hor, I told you they started their journey from Ravu, and now they have reached to Hor. Hor is a place that is ugly and miserable place, and it had no vegetation and just dust and rocks, and all over you find the scattered refuse, and it was luckless. Why it was luckless? That Hor is the place which is situated on the shore of Lake Mansarovar. Mansarovar is having very very religious belief for Hindus and Buddhists, but the town Hor is not taken care of according to the belief of this Mansarovar. According to ancient Hindu and Buddhist cosmologists, what is cosmology first? It's a science about the origin and development of the universe. So there are some of the stories related to that Mansarovar is the river which is basically consists of four Indian rivers: the Indus, the Ganges, and the Satluj, and the Brahmaputra. So Satluj river flows from this lake, and other three rivers rise near the sides of Mount Kailash. Okay, and they were in a remarkable distance, and he was eager to build ahead. Basically, Mansarovar is the place which has to be taken care, but because of the less vegetation, because of even the population is not that much there, so it is not taken care properly. Then they are talking about what is the effect of high altitude. This you can also experience if you will just move to high altitude. What can be the similar situation he is telling about him. Okay, when they resumed their journey from Hor, it was dark at that time. So after 10:30 p.m., they decided to stay in a guest house in Darchin, which turned out to be a difficult night for him. The rubbish dump in Hor made his cold worse, and herbal tea also didn't help him. So one of his nostril was blocked as he lay on the bed. He was not getting sufficient oxygen, and he checked his watch. He was at 4,760 meters above sea level, and the height was not more than Ravu, but he would be out of breath several times a night. He was so familiar to these nighttime disturbances that he was scared this time. So what he did, he started breathing from his mouth. He was tired, he was hungry, and he was switched back to breathing from single nostril. And as soon as he was about to sleep, he would wake up shortly. Sometimes there are some of the situation. If you will lie down, if you will sleep, your sinus can be problematic. So there was a voice from his inside that don't sleep. You sit up and clear your nasal passages, then you can live. Otherwise, you can die anytime. So what he said, I just had that night passed that night with very difficulty. Then I just told Sitan. He took me to Darchin Medical College the next morning, and it was not a college. Basically, it was just like a monastery. Okay, and the way the people were living just like Buddhist monk. So he went to a dark and cold consulting room filled by a Tibetan doctor who were nothing kind of no paraphernalia of doctor. Okay, he was just wearing a thick pullover and a woolly hat. So he has asked him a few questions while feeling his veins, and he told the driver that it is cold and he had an effect due to cold and high altitude. So he gave him some medicines and reassured him that he will be able to do the Kora. So after that, Darchin, I told you what kind of place is Darchin. It had some basic general stores selling Chinese soaps, cigarettes, and strings of prayer flags. So every afternoon, men would gather for a game of pool. They would sit around a shabby table, looking strange in the open air, while women washed their hair in the ice water of a small stream which flowed all the way to the guest house. He has described Darchin, where Sitan will also will not be with him now, though. So he had to be alone now, and he had to start his Kora alone. It said no, and this is off season now, and that's why the people there is no rush, and he has chosen the wrong time of the season. Okay, so he was repenting for that. It was not the peak season of pilgrimage, and some brought their otherwise if that was the season, the people, there is no place for the people, so they bring their own accommodations such as tents, and they set up in the plains. So he felt that he arrived at the place way too early, and he was thinking about his option while having a glass of tea, that what should he do now. So he concluded that there are limited options for him. So he made little progress on the self-help program on positive thinking, and also he was having difficulty in sleeping, which had not made it easy for him. And as I told you, that was not the peak season of the pilgrimage, so there was no option left for him. And what he decided now, he had no idea if the snow was cleared, and he was not feeling good about dirty eyes that still resided on the bank of Darchin's small stream. He had been facing communication problem also, as there was no network, so he did not know anything what he had to do. So luckily, fortunately, he met Norbu, another man in a cafe where he was alone there. And the description of man is given. He was small, dark, and was with long metal stoves. So that was the cafe here, and the walls and ceiling were twisted in multicolored plastic sheets of different colored straps. That exactly happens. If we are talking about Darchin, it's not a big town or city. It is just only a small place here. Everywhere you can find there the big shopping bags which were sold over China and many other countries of Asia and Europe. So when he met Darchin Norbu, so he felt very happy that at least he is having somebody to go for Kora. And Norbu was also excited when he got to know why the protagonist was at Darchin. So he said that there could be a team who are two academists who escaped from the library. So the protagonist believed his positive thinking strategy was working, and they both stayed at a guest house like him. It was, though it was ill equipped, but Norbu kept telling him that he was too dull, boring, and tired to walk, and he was fat. He had, means this protagonist, he had thought that he will go on foot, but Norbu said ki I am not in that condition that we can walk only. So Norbu was not a practicing Buddhist, he was an enthusiast. So originally the protagonist predicted that the trek would be good in a company of any deep believer, but he found Norbu to be an ideal partner. So they decided to hire some yaks to carry their luggage, and he had no intention of lying down flat all over the mountain. So this way, I just want to conclude that there are problems, obstacles if we choose something as a pilgrimage, or if we want to go for any trekking anywhere. The thing is that willpower, if we are having, we can do anything if we want. Okay, everybody, I hope you understood the Silk Road, basically why the writer has given the name and why he has chosen that. Thank you so much. We will come with another chapter now.